Very well.
Let me guess. This is where the rich dwarves live, yes?
You have come at a difficult time. Orzammar is ailing for want of a king.
Lord Arrowmont is the voice of tradition and stability. Lord Balin is the voice of anarchy and ruin.
As you say. It will be done.
You need me?
On my way.
You must be under great strain with the blight upon the land. I will pray to the stone for you.
Perhaps I could have a try at that.
Very well.
This has dragged on too long. It's an insult to King Endrin's memory.
Grey Warden arrives in Orzammar, most likely to pay respects to the rightful king, Prince Balin.
This is the royal palace, then. What treasures could lie within?
No one enters the prince's estate without an invitation.
You rang?
As you say.
Your wish? Just to me.
Very well. As you say. As you say. Very well. Yes.
No one composed of solid rock, yes? Smashing time, won't we? I can start on the smaller digits first.
Very well.
I'm here. Right away.
It will be done. Enemies ahead!
Prepare to be crushed. Not so fast. This increases our path of destruction.
Ancestors. Good on you, Warden. You caught them in the act. I guess desperate times drive people to strange things.
Very well. Yes. Very well. Of course.
Thief! Who would dare take from the memories? Warden, I'm outraged. A thief in the Shapered. What have we been reduced to? I did. He was bald, with the most garish brand across his head. Almost like he took pride in being castless. Imagine! He's probably in the slums somewhere. As if he'd find a buyer for a stolen tome in Dust Town. They couldn't know the value.
Oh, pardon me. Were you looking for a particular volume? Not that I could really help. I, don't know the libraries very well. I'm just doing some research. I was looking for something about the Ortan Tig. It was lost during the last Blight, and there aren't many records left. They were a noble house once, descended from the Paragon Ortan, who composed the grand epic of the Seven Brothers and the Ortanic Symphony. My mother's family believes they were descended from Kalana Ortan, who was training in Orzammar when the Tig fell. I'm even named for the house, Orta. Unfortunately, any records would be buried in the Tig's ruins, somewhere in the deep roads. A Grey Warden? Mother always said that if anyone could find the Tig, it was the Wardens. I hear Prince Balin and Lord Harrimont have both been sending out small teams these days. Yes, if you can find the Tig in any records, that could do it. That could prove I'm a noble. If you could. Maybe now that you're looking. It's almost too much to hope.
When I last walked this hall, Endrin was king and Orzammar was at peace. The memories often speak of the swiftness with which change overtakes us. But it is different to see it firsthand. I apologize, Warden. I should not burden a stranger with such thoughts. I am Zebor, the Shaper of Memories. The Grey Warden's visit has been recorded in the memories, along with all who accompany you. That is an odd request, especially for one so new to our city. I thought so. This is not the first time he's made this plea. My answer to Brother Burkle hasn't changed. So I ask you the same. On what basis would you have me insult the ancestors and overturn 2,000 years of tradition? What sort of charities do you mean? Traditionally, that is their extended family's responsibility, but sometimes people fall through the cracks. Very well, he may hold a prayer meeting as he requested, if not build a new temple to his god. At least the words would come from one of our own. Now, is there anything more? We were a great empire once, outnumbering even humans and elves. We traded with your Tevinter Imperium, and our land stretched as far in the deep roads as theirs did above. Kal Sharok was capital then, but we lost too many battles. We lost our golems, and we lost our territory. Now the Empire is simply ruined tunnels filled with darkspawn. The Paragon Caridon, a smith of unsurpassed genius, invented the golems. For years they were our weapon against the darkspawn. One golem is worth a dozen dwarves in battle, but Caridon's Tig is far into the deep roads. When it fell, we lost his secret to creating golems. There are books about it along these walls if you would read more. Yes, we have only a few dozen left in Orzammar, and I do not recognize this one. Where did you find it? Every golem is precious to us. We'd pay a good sum for a new find.
I'd sooner jump into a pit of lava.
Unfortunate. Was there anything else? I must tell the rest of the Shaperate about this discovery. At the other side of the old empire, during the last blight, the kings of Orzammar knew they couldn't hold everything. They sealed the deep roads, abandoning everyone still trapped in far-flung settlements. It was the only way to survive. Kal Sharok is the only other city to outlast the blight. We only rediscovered them recently, and they still haven't forgiven us. I will settle your mind if I can, Warden. All dwarves who die return to the stone as ancestors, to guide their families forever. But only one every few generations rises to Paragon. A Paragon is a dwarf whose accomplishments change Orzammar so much that the Assembly recognizes they've been born blessed. They are venerated as living ancestors and found a new noble house forever bearing their name. There is one Paragon of this generation, a woman named Branka. She was born a smith, but her inventions caught the Assembly's eye. Before she had seen 20 years, she created a smokeless coal. It could burn in a cave without vents and no one would choke from it. It earned her Paragon status. She went into the deep roads 2 years ago seeking out secrets of the ancient smiths. She never returned. We were a great empire once. We traded with your Tevinter Imperium, but we lost too many battles. We lost our golems, and we lost our territory. Your presence here has been recorded in the memories. I wish I knew what significance it has.
Of course.
Hey.
Yes.
The assembly is in session. Enter quietly if you wish to observe.
Your mind has gone to dust if you think we would pass such a writ. Half our houses would go broke without the service trade.
The proposal is only effective until we have a king to ensure we are respected by the surfacers.
Leaving you conveniently positioned to take over all contracts. I'll see your head on a pike first.
Deshers, lords and ladies of the Assembly. I've already doubled the guard to prevent violence. Must I summon more?
Steward Bandalore, Balin's sympathizers are tying our hands with trivialities. They may as well open us to the sky.
I suggest we put the matter to a vote.
And I suggest you have a taste of my family's mace.
Enough! The Assembly is in recess until the members can regain control of their emotions. Stone-forsaken fools and dusters. I'm sorry. This is the assembly of the clans. Only Deshers and occasional guests of state are allowed in. Forgive me. I am so exhausted. I completely forgot about the message from the gate guard. Welcome to Orzammar, Warden. I hope you can forgive our unrest. The loss of our king has hit us hard. Respect for your role is great, but you won't receive a proper hearing until we have a king on the throne. Troubling, but it will still seem distant compared to the empty throne. The Assembly is blind to all else. This is their world, and it ended when Endrin died. Dulan Ferender, Harrimant's man, can be found at the Harrimant estate. Vartag Gavorn, Prince Balin's II, is often here in the Assembly. I only wish there was more I could do for you.
Warden, welcome. It is always a blessing for Orzammar to host your order. I am Vartag Gavorn, top advisor to our good Prince Balin. What news do you bring? It would be hard not to notice the Grey Warden and his eclectic entourage. I hear you seek the aid of Orzammar's finest. Ah, ancient documents indeed. These were signed in the reign of Eithnar Bimo, Paragon and King. That was 16 generations ago. Now the difficulty is that the treaty only compels our king, and we are sadly lacking one of those right now. My prince is the rightful king, but a disappointing number of lords back the upstart Harrimant for the throne. If you show your support for Prince Balin, he might be able to assist with your requests. Harrimant promised the same portion of his estate to two different Deshers, Lady Dace and Lord Helmy. Harrimant can't possibly grant it to both of them, but they won't find out until after the vote is cast. I have copies of the promissory notes Harrimant gave each of them. Once they see those, they should both reconsider their votes. That's not important. If they ask, say you found them while searching the Shaper's libraries for your treaty. Normally, the Shapers would handle this sort of accusation. They are the scholars who manage our laws, histories, and genealogies. They are the final arbiters of all disputes in Orzammar. Unfortunately, The Shaper of Memories is the most important among them, and his grandfather was Lord Harrowmont's aunt's first cousin. Obviously, we cannot expect him to offer an unbiased opinion. I guess I can't expect you surfacers to understand the importance of family in Orzammar. The Shaper is biased, and if you want Prince Balin's help, you'll have to show where your loyalties lie. Will you do it? Lady Dace doesn't leave the quarter much, but Lord Helmy's adventurous, likes to spend his time at Tapster's in the Commons. Remember, don't tell them you got these papers from me. You learned of them and drew your own conclusions.
I heard there was a Grey Warden here. I am Dulin Forrender, second to Lord Harrowmont, King Endrin's own choice as successor. Word is spreading that the surface may suffer a blight. It is shameful we are not in a better position to help. That may be, and that is a terrible risk for the surface. But even if the world would end tomorrow, Lord Harrowmont cannot ignore Balin today. He cannot afford to trust anyone of unproven loyalties. That's a generous offer. If you mean it, you might attend the proving today. The Deshers take it very seriously, and unfortunately, Balin found some way to blackmail or intimidate House Harrowmont's best fighters into stepping down. The proving is a contest of the best warriors in Orzammar. By fighting, they show who has the ancestors' favor. If you were to enter the proving as Lord Harrowmont's champion, it would prove your loyalty beyond a doubt.
And this is to be your king. One who cannot keep his own men from running like frightened children.
Lord Harrowmont does not use threats or intimidation to motivate his men. He leads by example.
Ah, I see. So it's his example they follow as they cower from this Prince Balin.
How dare you slander Lord Harrowmont?
Why should we ally ourselves with someone too scared even to grant us an audience? I suppose not everyone can face death as undaunted as an Antivan, it's true.
Then you agree to fight in Harrowmont's name. Balin would never work with anyone who humiliated him in that way. Harrowmont would have no fear of meeting with you then. Excellent. The arena is located off the Commons. Talk to the Proving Master and tell him you're entering Lord Harrowmont's roster. The key fighters we lost were Guidon and Baisel. You can look for them in the fighters' preparation chambers behind the ring. And be sure it's before the fights begin. After the first bout, no one may change the roster. If you need to find me again, I will wait in the Tapster's Tavern off the Commons. There is no better place to hear gossip. Perhaps even word of your victory.
Lord Harrowmont is a weak man, and he will be a weak king. Yes.
What do you want? Ah, I suppose you're the Grey Warden everyone's talking about. It's fascinating the surface has an entire order dedicated to fighting Darkspawn. Down here, that's just what fighting means. But I'm sure it's more difficult on the surface. It must be much harder to find them. I am? And what business would you have with me? Well, this isn't exactly a surface broadsheet. Where did you get these? Never mind. It is true enough, but there's nothing I can do about it. This deal was made on behalf of our entire house. Only my father can revoke it. He is leading a Deep Roads expedition, trying to secure an ancient Tig. It's unlikely he'll be back before the election, but perhaps this vote is important enough for you to brave the tunnels to tell him? The Dace family would be in your debt. He was searching an old Idukan site. He left me with this map, in case his expedition never returned. I'll give you a pass as well. Usually, no one is allowed past the front lines. Does that mean you'll go? So Balin's victory means enough for you to risk your life. How interesting.
Could the end of Orzammar be nigh? Turn to Lord Harrowmont and assure the future of Dwarven society.
It'll be 2 years tomorrow. By all the holy sodding ancestors, how can you people just ignore that?
Branka didn't go alone, Ogren. She took the whole house, everybody but you. So just get over to Tapster's and drown yourself already. You know as well as I do that's how this always ends.
You think I'm afraid of some cub warrior who's barely off the teat? Ha! I'll...
You lift a weapon or attack a single citizen in Orzammar, and you're stripped of your caste and exiled. Even you can't have forgotten that. Get out of here before I call a guardsman. Can you believe it? Ogren's barely even warrior caste anymore, and he just clomps in here like he's entitled. I'm Loylanar Ivo, warrior, which is more than I can say for that useless sod. Ogren's a drunken wretch. He comes up here 2-3 times a week, hounding people to lead some suicidal rescue mission after Branka. Gets quite violent about it. I'd be scared if they hadn't practically gelded him after he killed young Lord Mino. All Mino's son said was how unlikely it was that a bunch of smiths would return safely from the deep roads. Which is true. Ancestors preserve us. That's what the warrior caste is for. But Ogren claimed it was an insult to a paragon. Next thing, they're in a duel to first blood to defend Branka's honor, then Ogren starts screaming and runs him through. It was a huge scandal. Ogren should have been executed, but he'd won honors in the deep roads. Instead, they stripped him of all weapons and forbid him from engaging in fights within city limits. If he breaks the decree, he'll be exiled. She's still his wife, isn't she? Even if she took their entire house into the deep roads and abandoned him. Well, before she was a paragon, she was just a smith, and Ogren was one of the best warriors of his generation. Chasing some old treasure, she was quite secretive, outright rude, really. She said she never asked to found a house, that she didn't care about politics, and that we were too self-absorbed to defeat the Darkspawn. She actually threatened anyone who said they'd come after her. She invented a smokeless fuel that let the Smith caste increase their output by nearly 1/3. Deaths from the Black Lung also dropped. The Assembly said she had the favor of the ancestors and declared her a paragon. They moved Branka, Ogren, and all their relatives to the noble caste and founded a new house in her name. It's been 2 years since Branka left. No one has ever stayed in the deep roads that long and survived. The search teams who went out found nothing, but Ogren wants to keep risking lives searching. If you see any guardsmen, tell them Ogren was at it again.